Hey everybody, Annabelle here from Doll Belly Knits. I just wanted to jump on here real quick. I am still in the process of moving, hotel living. I don't have my editing software computer available yet, but the last couple of videos that I've made have been tutorial videos specifically about using two circular needles to knit socks two at a time. Of course, as I start talking, they are outside with the snow blower, it sounds like, but it's actually for the leaves because there's no snow here in North Carolina. At least not now there is. Anywho, I thought I would jump on here because I'm at the end of this pair of flip-flop socks. These are socks that I've been making recently. I was inspired very much by Very Pink Knits to create this pattern specifically for this type of yarn that I'm using, which is the Premier brand Wool Free self-striping sock yarn. I really like this yarn, and I actually have a few friends that are allergic to wool, so it's something that I use not only for family but for friends, and I'm sure there's other people out there who are allergic to wool. But this particular yarn has a lot of stretch in it, so I had to adjust and adapt a little bit to compensate for the stretchiness, and I don't think that this pattern would work with other yarns that are natural animal fiber yarns. But yeah, so I'm almost at the end here, and one of the viewers for the last tutorial had commented that she was really happy that I put the video out because you don't really see people using two short circular needles to knit socks. I know I'm not the only person in the world who does this. I know there's other people who do it, but it does seem to not be the norm. If you look up sock knitting, you usually see magic loop or double pointed needles. So I thought I would just go ahead and knit a row here so you can see what I'm doing. Certainly, there are people out there who, if you just tell them what to do by listening, they get it. There are people out there who like to read, and by reading instructions, they get it. But I know there's people out there who have to see it to get it. So that's why I'm doing this. So as you can see, I got two socks on the needles. I do the socks two at a time so I don't end up having second sock syndrome. And there basically is one circular needle. I believe this is a 16-inch circular needle in the front or at the front of the sock. And then there's another one for the back of the sock, which there's the heel bit. I push all the stitches to the end of the needle on the front. I make sure I'm using the same needle because sometimes I get mixed up myself and grab the back one, so make sure you're only using the front needle for the front stitches, and then just get knitting. I happen to be doing a 1x1 rib, but I'm using a twisted knit stitch, so when I go to do the knit stitch, instead of going into the front, I go into the back, and that's what gives the twist to the stitch. I actually like that a lot. I think it actually makes the ribbing just a little bit tighter, so that's a nice feature, especially when using a yarn that is as stretchy and elasticy, is that a word, as this one. As I knit a couple stitches, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 stitches, this back needle will start to get in my way. And what I'll do is I'll just pull it through so that it can hang. It's a little difficult for you to see that right now since I have the work in my lap on this beautiful white hotel towel that I'm using as a backdrop. But I think you're getting the gist here that I have one needle dedicated for all the front stitches of the sock, and then I have another short 16-inch circular needle dedicated for the back stitches of the sock. And you'll see as I get down to the end here that I am indeed working this with two separate balls. So two separate balls of yarn. I am almost at the end here. Again, doing a twisted knit stitch, so when I knit, the needle goes into the back instead of the front of the knit stitch. Right, so with my last stitch, I push my yarn to the back of the needle and I just drop it and leave it there. I move the stitches for the sock from the second sock over into place, and I pick up the wool from the second ball. I'll wrap it on my finger and I just get going. Because there is no second needle per se, I'm not sure how to describe this. So like when you're working with DPNs, you usually will have these stitches in the back would be on a DPN. So you would have the extra width of the DPN to help keep you from pulling the stitches too tight. Since you don't have that, you basically just have the wire of the circular needle. You just kind of have to keep that in mind when you're moving on to the second sock, that you may not want to pull that first couple stitches too tight. It would just be a little difficult to move them over the needle. I have never had an issue in a sense of, you know, making it so tight that I wasn't able to then knit the stitches, but it is something to be aware of, since it is something slightly different maybe than what you're used to working with or have happen when you're using DPNs or even the magic loop method for knitting socks. Okay, I'm going to finish up this row here, and then you'll see what I do when I turn the work to work on the back stitches. 3 more stitches, purl, twist it, knit, and purl. So done. Drop that. I usually pull the needle back through, just kind of like reset things, make sure I didn't accidentally use the wrong ball and knit the socks together, and then I'll just flip the work over. As you can see, the yarn is here. It kind of looks like it's in the front of your work, but it's not. It's just separated. It's in the back of where you finished on what is now the back needle. It's the front needle. It's now the back needle for you. And you just do the same thing. Push all the stitches to the end. I like to, like I was just talking about, to help me not pull stitches too tight, I line up the needles on the back for the first couple of stitches. So when I go to knit, I have that buffer of this second needle to keep me from pulling the stitches too tight. And that is something that you don't have when you get to the second sock. And again, it's just something that you're going to need to be aware of, so that you don't pull the stitches too tight. But I've never really had that issue, nor have I had like a ladder effect or anything like that. And I don't think it's a big problem. It's just something maybe you need to be aware of. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to knit to the end of both of these socks, and I'll flip the work over, and then it's going to be time for me to cast off, and I will share that with you as well. I do a stretchy bind off, even though this is stretchy sock yarn, and then you can see how I do that using 2 circular needles. So just hang tight, and maybe the leaf blower guy will be gone as well.